So one of the things that I want to start with really is the Azure Architecture Center. Yeah. And we'll have a look at our different types of real-time fraud detection. Oh, exciting. Stream analytics. Oh, good stuff. However, we're going to have a look. Can I just search for serverless SQL pools? Will that come up? Yeah, there we go. Front and center. First thing. Query a data lake or lakehouse by using Azure Synapse Serverless. Perfect. And we've got a little diagram here. Okay. So we've got data factory, pipelines really. I mean, you know, I'm going to be using pipelines within Synapse, not the separate data factory service. Data lake storage, yeah. I'm going to be putting some data from a SQL database via pipelines into a data lake. So like completely separate from Synapse at that point. Well, in terms of serverless, I'll use pipelines within Synapse to get that data out. And then using serverless here to query that data, might get to Power BI, hopefully. I mean, it's a light touch. We're not going to go into, you know, I don't want to go into anything too heavy here. But yeah, that's essentially it. We've got a SQL database. We'll look at that in a bit. We're going to have a pipeline to take that data from that SQL database out into the data lake. And then we'll read that data using serverless. I mean, it's simple as that, really. You know, we don't have to add in all the other components that that architecture has. I don't, and to be honest with you, don't ask me off the cuff to be able to integrate machine learning and Synapse Spark into this solution, because if I was, I'd be like looking over here at the documentation as I was doing it. I'll be very honest about that up front. So yeah, so it's literally database, pipelines, data lake, serverless to do some querying, and then maybe Power BI. It all depends. It all depends how it goes, really. Now, I did have a Synapse workspace already set up. Yeah, because I don't think anyone really wants to watch spinning wheels while services provision. But suffice to say, there's a workspace set up, and if I click on my data tab, I've got some linked services to storage. So if I just expand my storage, and I've got some storage there. Okay. And on my integrate, I'll close that down. Just got a stream folder, and what we'll do is I'll create just a blank pipeline for now, and then we'll jump into the database and have a little look at the database. Now I'm going to stop for a second and just ask the stream, is it all coming through okay? I do have Zoom it. I don't use it that often, if I'm honest, but I've just started to get the hang of it, and oh, there we go. But yeah, so I'll just make sure it's all coming through fine. And what we'll do is, yeah, new pipeline. Okay, so we're going to create a new pipeline. Just hide these things over here. I'll just click that. Right. And we'll just say pipeline. Thanks, Donald. We'll just say pipeline, and we'll say load data lake. Imaginative, right? Now, before I do anything else, we'll go into the database itself. Right, now what I'm interested in is I've got some transactional data, some normalized data, you know, customers, customer addresses, products and product categories, product models, and some sales order information as well. All right, and this is the, is it the AdventureWorks? Is it AdventureWorks with the bicycles? I think it is AdventureWorks, isn't it? I've been using Wide World Importers for quite a while. Actually, someone tweeted out something funny about all of the different pretend companies that Microsoft have made up to to test data solutions, and there was loads. I thought there was only a couple. There's about 20, 30, I think. So we've got a database here, and we've got some data, all right? And we look at there you go, sales order detail. There we go. Got, you know, unit prices and line totals and order quantities and all that kind of stuff. And we want to get that data out of the SQL database and into the data lake. Now I could just do it table by table, but I do want to make it a bit more dynamic. I want to make it a little bit, thanks Luke, I want to make it a little bit, I want to iterate over the tables. I don't want to just keep hard coding, you know, source and destinations. So the first thing we can do is we can look up. So we're just going to look up. I'm just going to look up SQL tables to export. Now you'll forgive me if I don't jump in and start changing all the timeouts and the retries and things like that. I might whack that up to 60 just in case. I have also I have a key vault already set up. We don't really want to go through that, setting up a brand new key vault in this stream. So we'll just piggyback on the key vault and the connection that I've already created in that key vault for the SQL database. But we'll make that connection. Okay, so, well, I'm not going to use any existing ones. So we'll create a new connection. And we'll go to our Azure SQL database. SQL or SQL? What's the thing? I always say SQL. I think it's a bit probably lazier to say SQL. And we'll say source Azure SQL database. Azure SQL. All right, link service. Right, we'll create a new link service. Right, I want to do it all from scratch, other than the Synapse workspace. Right, so we'll say source Azure SQL link service. Okay, and we'll get it from the key vault. Right, and I've already added, I mean, you can see down here, managed identity. I've already added the managed identity of the Synapse workspace to a policy in the key vault. And the policy only allows this managed identity to get and list secrets. So no keys or anything like that. I do have the link service for the key vault already set up. If we have a look, there we go. We've got our source Azure SQL database, which is just a connection string. I'll use the latest version. Okay, and it's got SQL authentication or managed identity in here. Now, I'm going to be honest, I haven't looked at this credential in brackets preview. It's asking me for credentials. I haven't looked at that yet. I'm just going to click in line. Does anyone know about those credentials? I'll just throw it out there. If I test the connection, there we go. So we've just literally just connected to our SQL database. Okay, let's commit that. Okay, there we go. Committed to Git repository, and I won't change anything else I'm not going to select a table or anything like that. No schema to import. We'll click OK. And we've got our connection. Now I'm going to write a query to get the tables that I want. Now all the tables that I want are in that sales LT schema. So really, it's the system views, isn't it? It's the system tables, and I think it's the sys.schemas. There we go. So I'll just say, right, we'll select s dot name. I'm not splitting strings. Name as schema. As schema name. T name. That's also tan. It's also t dot name as table name. Okay, and we'll go to sys tables t in a join, and we'll go to our schema. Schemas s on s dot. I'm guessing schema ID. There we go, schema ID. Alright, I only want it where s dot name equals was it sales LT. Let's use a bit of zoom it. Yeah, really simple. You know, these are the tables that I want to get, that I want to iterate over in my pipeline. We'll take that query, copy it in, preview. We've got our schema and the tables that we want to extract. Okay, good stuff. No errors so far. I like that. Right, so let's commit. I'm not going to publish. All right, okay. So we've got our lookup activity. That's going, connecting to the SQL database, and it's pulling in the list of tables that we want to iterate over. Okay, so then we want to copy data. No, we don't. We want to copy data. We don't want to do it that way. We want to iterate. There we go. So we've got 4 each. There we go. Okay, I'll call that for each table. Let's hook that up. Okay. It is blowing an absolute gale outside as well. And there are some tall trees down the end of the garden. Okay. Now, I never remember the expression language at activity, so I'm gonna copy it from a SQL that I've already got. Okay, so look up SQL tables to export. Look up SQL tables to export dot output dot value. Okay, so it's just going to take the list of values from that output, and it'll allow us to iterate over each one. I can do it sequentially, and I guess that all depends on what your source system is configured or is capable of doing. I mean, you don't want to. It might be that the source system that you're trying to get this data out of, it could be an Azure SQL database or an on-premise data store, and your local friendly DBA says, look, please, your pipelines are absolutely hammering the server. Can you just tone it down a little bit? So actually, yeah, well, let's do batches of batches of 2. I mean, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There's 11 tables to export. Oh, let's work it up to 3. Okay. So all that will happen is 3 executions will run. So 3 tables will be exported in parallel. Once all 3 are finished, the next batch of 3 will run, so on and so forth. So yeah, that's sequential. Very handy if you do need to do it one after the other. All right, we'll commit that again. All right, let's jump into the for each loop. If we click on configuration. All right, you can see that. Yeah, there we go. Okay, we click in that. And now we're in the for each loop. And here's where I put my copy data task. There we go. Okay, I'm not going to do a mapping data flow. I'm not doing any transformation of the data other than taking it from the database and putting it in the data lake. If I was going to do some transformations, might want to use that mapping data flow. The one thing that I was interested, probably not really for this stream, but I was interested, I don't, is it in Synapse Pipelines, or is this one of those where it's only in Data Factory? Flowlets. Yeah, create a flowlet which does that exporting of a database to a data lake, and then just reuse that component, a bit like a template. Anyway, so we're going to copy data from SQL to the data lake. Okay, again, well, there's no retry anyway on there anyway. Now, on our source, what I want to do is actually, I want to add a couple of parameters to that SQL database that we've already created for the schema and the table. So we'll go Azure SQL Database. Source Azure SQL tables. All right, we've got the link service we've configured. Okay. Except I want to open that link service. Okay. And on that SQL database, it won't affect the query for the, getting the list of tables. But I'll add a couple of parameters to that, so I can pass in the schema and the table name, then pass those in the for each loop to get the data out. So we go to parameters, a couple of parameters. Let's call it schema name. Let's call that table name. Let's have a default. Sales LT, and then is it product or products? Product. Okay. Go back to our connection. You select a table for your data set. Okay. Need to put my parameters in. So on the table there, let's add dynamic content. That will be the schema.table. And there's our parameters. Schema. So pretty simple syntax there. And then on our table, there's our table. All right, let's hit that preview. Got some data. Hooray. All right, there we go. Product ID, name, product code, blah, blah, blah. Good. Ooh, there's that. Thumbnail photo. It's going to be a character. It's going to be a big character field. Again, I'm not going to do anything with schema because this is dynamic. Okay, so just to recap, a couple of parameters added to our Azure SQL Database connection. Won't affect the lookup activity, which is just a SQL query anyway. So if we go back to the pipeline, okay. Now what I've actually noticed is that only one parameter comes through. So I'm actually just going to delete, re-add the copy activity, select, and I get both parameters through. For some reason, I saw this a few days ago. I don't know if anyone knows the answer. I add a copy data activity. Okay, I already select the data set. I then go into the link service and add new parameters. When I come back, for some reason, it only lists the first parameter. Delete the copy data activity, create a new one, point it at the data set connected to the link service that has those two parameters already, both parameters. Pull in, go figure, I'm not too sure. Right. However, we've got some defaults there. Let's get rid of those defaults. And we're in the for each loop. So we've got access to each of the items that's coming from that lookup activity. Okay. So if we hit that dynamic content, and we've got the for each iterator down here, so I can say item, so it's each item, each row, but it's a column. So I say schema name, okay, because that's the name in the query for that column name. And then the table name as well. Let's go in, just to say we can write it as well. And then we say table name. Okay, and we've got the query set to table there. So click preview data. I mean, it's going to be the same thing where we've got to hard code our test parameters in just to see if the data set works. Fantastic. There's our data set. Love it. Okay, I'll just commit that. All right. Okay. So a little bit of recap. Just for me, more than anyone else, to be quite honest with you. Got the lookup. Got two columns, schema name and table name, with the filter to only go and get the tables that we're interested in exporting. There we go. Got a for each activity in which we're getting the items from that activity, those rows. We're going to execute 3 exports at a time. When we go into the activity itself, we've got the copy data activity. Copy data from SQL to data lake. Okay. We've got the source, and we've parameterized the link service. And we're passing in the schema name and the table name into the schema name and table name fields in that linked service. Okay, how are we doing for time? 6:30. 6:30 my time. And then where we're going to put it. We're going to sync. I'm not going to do any partitioning of data. Maybe another day. And also the data set isn't large enough for that. So we're going to go and create our destination. So we're going to push that into our data lake. Okay, Data Lake, and we've got Gen2. We've got Parquet. Delta. Is Delta? I'm not going to do it now. I'm not going to do it now. But is Delta? Can you do? Can you do it straight to? Oh, okay. I'm not going to. I don't want to go too. I don't want to veer off too much. I thought it was like an inline data set, or maybe that's reading data. Anyway, we'll create our sync. Okay. So it's still going to be Parquet data that we're going to extract that data to. There we go, Parquet. Okay. So sales Parquet. Okay. We'll create a new link service. Okay. Here's your data lake storage. Actually, let's be better and say sales. Okay. I am just going to select from here. I'm not going to. I could use managed identity. Do I have the managed identity set up? That's that connection. Oh, you have that managed identity set up, which is adding the managed identity name, the name of the workspace, the Synapse workspace, to the Azure Data Lake Gen2 storage account as a storage blob data. Is it reader? Is that enough? Or is it contributor? Storage blob data contributor. Might be reader. All right. Let's commit that. Donald, good choice. You know what? It's lagging. So what choice did I make that was good? I hope it was good. Right, so connecting to the data lake. Right, file system. Okay, so let's have a little look, and we'll put it on the source data here. Okay, and then I'll say / sales data. Okay, let me click OK. Okay. Source data. We'll append the folder names there. Okay, so we've got our sync data set. Now, again, we're going to have to not Delta for now. Yeah, you know what? That would have been a world of going off on a tangent, which maybe for another day. Okay, so same with the SQL database. Okay, where we parameterize the tables that we want to go and get. We want to do the same thing for the folder. Now, all I want to do is I just want to use the table name from the SQL database as the folder name. So we just reuse the same item. So in here, parameters. Okay, I'm going to create a new parameter. We'll call that data lake folder. Okay, no default value because there's nothing there to view. No schema information. It's dynamic. And what we want to do on the file path, I probably have to add in something like the concatenation. Oops. Where source data I've got the Lakehouse, source data. Hang on a minute. Because that was just to that. So actually, source data / sales data. There we go. Under my data lakehouse container, I've got a source data, and then I want another folder that contains this lot of data. Okay. Ooh, contact lenses are playing up a little bit. All right. So we've got a parameter. Got a data lake folder parameter. Got a file path. Parameterize the file path to pass in the data lake folder. So then we need to pass a value to that parameter. So we go back to our copy data. There we go, data lake folder. As if by magic, data lake folder has appeared. And we'll add the dynamic content in, and again for each table we've got the current item, and it'll be the table name. Okay, we're not going to modify anything. It'll just be the name of the table. Okay. Click OK. Leave everything. There's obviously no mapping. Leave everything as default. Let's commit. And let's publish. I am still interested in this whole flowlet. Oops, data factory flowlet. Flowlet's in mapping data flows. Okay. But we don't know whether that. I don't know whether that's in the data factory. If that's in Synapse Pipelines. For another day. But I am interested. That's like SSIS. What was it in SSIS? SSIS package components. Was it package components? Okay. Let's publish that. Publish that up. And this is where it tells me, oh, invalid connection here. Oh, no. No. No errors so far. Right. Let's run it. Okay, first, let's go into our storage sales account. Click on our data lakehouse. Source data. Okay, so you got a couple of pre-existing folders there. Not interested in those. Go back to our pipeline. Hit debug. Hopefully should be fairly quick. Let's hide that again. Go back into zoom it. Whee. All right, there we go. Well, look, you can see. So yeah, it's triggered the lookup activity. It's then triggered the for each activity, and then we've got 3 export, well, copy data activities that are running. Okay. Ooh, we've got some lineage. Not going to go into purview. But I do like that lineage, actually. I was last week. I wanted to get a handle on a couple of things in Purview. I think it was the Power BI integration and the lineage. I wanted, obviously, in the Power BI service itself, you've got lineage available there. So when I'm looking at it in Purview, the lineage in Purview, it's the same that you get in Power BI. Looks the same. But I was interested about the lineage for pipelines and Data Factory. But again, will it show the lineage if it's dynamic, if it's a for each loop? I'm not 100% sure if it does. Right. Succeeded. A few seconds each. Right, let's go back into our Lakehouse storage. Do a bit of a refresh. And, oh, there we go, sales data. Okay, so we got some folders there. So let's look at product. And we didn't specify any names for those Parquet files. So it's just defaulted to these to the Parquet file names, right? Okay. Now, just going to very quickly. I've jumped around. I tell you what, I've jumped around less than I thought I would. I thought I'd be like opening a browser window for this and a browser window for that, but what I wanted to touch on briefly is a blog post on my serverless SQL to generate data sets where essentially every time the data sets were being generated, they were being output to a new folder with a date timestamp. Okay, so we might want to actually go back into the pipeline and say, okay, every time the pipeline runs, right, take the current date time, format it so it's just, it's just the numbers, not dashes or forward slashes or anything like that, and put it in the data lake there. And then obviously serverless or Spark can just pick up the latest folder. Hey, Justin, did ask that question. So I hadn't tested it myself. Yeah. Oh, okay. One to check out. How are we doing for time? Hey, there we go. We've got some data in the data lake, and there we go. And I can just submit my invoice now. I'm just wondering how much to charge. So, data in the data lake. We've got our folders here, right? We're not going to do anything more with that pipeline now. So let's just close down the pipeline. Now we'll keep that pipeline open. Why not? It looks nice. Now, in terms of serverless, let's jump into serverless. Right, I've got my data. It's in Parquet, which is what we want. I can cheat now, to be honest with you. I'm going to right-click Product. Do I have to do it on the file itself? Yeah, I can select I can do it on the folder level. Yeah, that's not going to make any sense. On the product, I've got no serverless SQL pools database set up, no external data sources, anything like that. So we can select top 100 rows, and it's going to ask me for the file type. So we can say we have Delta. Oh, yeah, don't worry. I'm not going to click Delta because we know it's in Parquet. There we go. We're going to select that. Now, it's a short stream. It's an hour. I'm not going to create data sources and in serverless, because I do that all the time. So we're just going to use the fully qualified URL really. Oh, I wonder if we've got time to try and parameterize the creation of SQL views. Maybe. Anyway, let's have a look. Okay, so what I will do is I do want to create a database, and let's call it data lake stream. Oops. Yeah, let's just do that right now. It shouldn't be long. And then it's a lake stream. It doesn't affect the select query. I just want to create the view in here. All right, let's have a look at that. Okay, there we go. There's our data. Okay. Product. You know. But now we want to create a view. Okay, yes, we are hard coding the views for the time being. But let's create a schema. LDW, logical data warehouse, and then we can create LDW dot product. Okay. How many columns are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Yeah, okay, fine. I'm not going to start creating a with statement and typing in a data type override. It will just stay with the data types it's got. And obviously, for all character-based columns, it's going to create a view with varchar 8000 for all text columns. We do actually want to reduce that. Let's create that view. Okay. Let's we'll select top 10 all from LDW. Oops, LDW.product. Make sure that view's working fine. Yeah, there we go. And then all we'll do is we'll just come on. Let's just duplicate that select statement. And sales order detail. Sales order detail. Let's have another top 10. Top 10 all from that. Sales order ID, product ID. That's it. That's all I want. I just want product ID. So let's then create a view. Now, in terms of the dynamic object creations, not just views, but tables as well, external tables. There's a couple of ways of doing that in SQL using stored procedures. To just pass in some parameters and construct the create view statement and passing in location as the bulk property, and that means you can just create a stored procedure, pass in the location parameter, and it'll create it. So yeah, let's see if we've got time to do that now. Just checking to make sure my iPad that's showing the stream's running out of power. Maybe I have to buy another one. Create view, LDW dot sales order detail as select all. Okay, we're not doing anything fancy with data types. And then let's take that select statement. Select top 10 all from LDW dot sales order detail. Just on that bottom one. There we go. And then let us. So I'm going to select P dot. I'm never going to remember whether it's product name or name. Name as product name. and then it's going to be order quantity, order QTY, s dot, sorry, sum, sd dot order QTY as total order quantity from, do some copying and pasting, sd inner join product p on p dot, is it product ID, equals sd dot product ID, and then we're going to group, oops, group by the product name. Okay, group by name. Okay, did I get the column name right? I got the column name right, product ID. Boy, that was a shock. There we go, some aggregate data, fine. You know what, and then we can, if we wanted, we could open Power BI, connect to the Serverless SQL pool endpoint, bring the views in. But we're not gonna connect Power BI. I wanted to look at the dynamic view creation. Now I'm not going to go back to the Serverless SQL pool blog to do that, but essentially, you know, that we want to create we want to create a stored procedure to do this. So create proc ldw dot create view, create views, and we'll say folder. It's probably going to have to be nvarchar, isn't it, because of the text itself. Nvarchar 100 as begin. Whoops. Begin end, and then we want to declare. Let's declare. We need the SQL text, don't we? So we'll just do SQL text nvarchar 4000. Let's set that SQL text equal to. Let's go up and just grab our create view statement. Let's just take that and down here. All right. I'm probably not going to format the text that well. There's a create view, LDW. I'll probably should use the concat statement, but let's tibble it by putting a VW at the front. We'll just pass in the folder name, i.e. the SQL table name, as select start from, and then what we'll do is we'll do the same there, put the folder there, close those off, close that off, right, and then we want to exec the SQL text, but let's just take it out of the stored procedure for a minute, right? And what have we got? We've got folder. Okay, so oops. Folder equals products. Right, and let's just print that text and see Do I not have to do that? Oh. Huh. Okay. All right. We got our statement there, right? Let's just whip that out. Andy sings, yeah, or hums. Andy hums irritatedly. Yeah, that's fine because it's not actually products. It is product. Right. So create proc. Create views. Pass the folder in. Begin. Set the SQL text. We could do a lot more parameterization in terms of the location, data sources, etc. But let's just do that for now. Right, let's run that proc. Donald says I've never written a stored proc in my life. That may be a good thing. I've had many. When I was the I've always got I've got to name drop this at some stage. But when I was the data sort of developer and an architect at Sega, there's always arguments about stored procedures. The logic should be in the sort of the application, not in stored procedures. It was just an argument that always raged between the developers and the data people. Anyway, I digress. We've created our procedure, and what I want to do is I want to drop the current views. Actually, let's drop the views for product and sales order detail. Okay. Drop those. Let's have a look at our SQL databases. No views. Okay, got no views in our serverless SQL database. Let's go back to our pipeline. I'm glad I didn't close the pipeline now. Not that it would have made a difference. And we want to get the metadata, trigger the for each, copy the data, create the view, or drop and create the view. Actually, James Broom at the last Data Toboggan did a lightning talk on dynamic view creation, which is pretty much the same thing here. It's like passing in some parameters into a stored procedure. But he also had what was interesting. He also had conditional logic around if you wanted to recreate the view if the source schema had changed, which is quite interesting. Okay, now, yes, there is a excuse me, a SQL stored procedure in Synapse. But you're not going to be connecting to serverless SQL pools stored procedures, unfortunately. Yeah. There's my dedicated SQL pool, which isn't running at the moment. That's it. Okay. So we've got to use the general stored procedure activity. No less effective. Right. Let's hook that up. Let's create view, and we can just use our SQL database there, and oh no, that's the link service to okay, so we have to create a link service. Amazon RDS. To the Synapse workspace. Hang on a minute. Just go in there. Yeah, I've got a few Synapse. There we go, serverless. Endpoint. There we go. The data was it Data Lake? Oops. Data Lake stream. Okay. Should manage identity should be okay. Commit that. And then store procedure name. Oh, there we go. LDW create views. We should just be able to click import. Oh, there we go. There's our folder parameter. And we'll go in here and we should be able to add in our dot table name parameter. Okay, so we're using our table name parameter to get the data from the SQL database, to create the data lake folder, and to create the view name. All right, I'll publish it and then I'll debug it. I'm going to be amazed if I click debug. Well, we already know it copies the data, but if it creates the views, if I haven't put any syntax errors in there. All right, let's give it a go. Hit the debug. Okay, it's looking up the tables. Okay, it's got our 3 tables there. Loading, 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 loading. Oh, probably haven't set anything to either clear the folder down. It doesn't matter for this. Did read a good blog recently about about the whole restartability of processes and making sure that every time you're running a data pipeline, the end result doesn't change. I can never. Is it idempotent? I can never remember what the phrase is. Okay, it's run the create view store procedure for each one. Let's open the SQL database. Okay, all right, it's created. Okay, any reason why that's taking a bit longer than refresh? All right, so it is creating them. Okay, still running. But yeah, so if we open one of these views, then yeah, I mean you can see, you know, it's it does some schema inference, and yeah, for character data, varchar 8000. Now, again, I did. There is something that I put on serverlesssql.com, which is a tiny bit more sophisticated in terms of dynamic view creation, where it's not just doing a select all, passing in a location. It's using, I can never remember the system procedure name. It's where you can trigger this procedure and pass in a select query. And what it'll do is it'll give you the column names it's detected and the schema that it will apply, like varchar 8000. But in the proc I've got, you can override the length of that varchar field. So you can say, well, look, I know for a fact that nothing is longer than 50 characters or 100 characters. So you can kind of override it in there. All right, succeeded. Refresh. Oops. On the main views itself. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. we go. So let's just go down here, get some empty space, select top 10 or whoops, top 10 all from LDW dot VW customers, our fictitious customers. Customer, come on Andy, it's not that late. Alright, there's our data. All right. Select top 10 all from, we'll just do the sales order header. So VW sales order header. Run that. There we go. There's our sales order, which I think has, yeah, there we go, the customer linked to the customer ID. Okay, we're actually a few minutes over now, so we're not going to go into writing endless SQL queries to analyze the data. And the whole dynamic view creation thing is quite interesting in terms of schema changing, because yeah, it's all well and good exporting the data, creating the view. If something changes in your source data, you're going to be exporting that, and if you have changed the export routine so that it creates a datetime folder every time you export the data, if you're trying to cast structure over the root folder of, let's say, products, and products has loads of different datetime folders, if the scheme is different in all of those, then the view creation will have to, the view will have to be dropped and recreated, pointing specifically at that latest folder. Anyway, yeah. So I think we've gone over. But hey, look, you know what? I wanted to do something that wasn't really that scripted. I mean, I did practice a little bit earlier. Come on, I didn't want to completely come in cold and forget how to drag a for each loop, although I almost did, copying the data. But yeah, and just a little bit less polished than a session, where it's, you're worried about the delivery. But there we go. So we did build a data lake solution with serverless SQL pools in pipelines. We ended up with 2 activities here. We ended up with 2 activities here, so 4 activities in total. We got the data out of the SQL database, we got it into Parquet format in the data lake, and then we created views on top of that. Yeah, we could, advance the view creation procedure by dropping the view and checking if schema's changed and all that, but in a short space of time, that's what we've got. So it does lag a bit on my iPad. If anyone's got any questions, I'll hang around for a minute. But you know what? I've really enjoyed it, to be honest. Quite liked just sitting here playing around with Synapse. But yeah, I do want to try the Delta integration. That does look interesting. I thought it was like an inline data set, but we'll look at that at another stage. All right. So I'm going to click stop now on the stream. I've enjoyed it. I hope you have. And, well, see you around. See you at the next event. SQL Bits. I'm going to be at SQL. I'm only going to be at SQL Bits for Thursday, I think, just because of just because of work commitments. Unfortunately, I'll be there Wednesday night to stay over. But yeah, it's been a bit of a it's been tricky to try and get the time off. But yeah, Donald, seems like I have to learn ADF off examples. A lot of moving parts to configure. Yeah, you're right. You've got the whole concept of the linked services, i.e., connecting to your data services. Your data sets, the data itself, the activities. But yeah, I think it's the iteration. It's like integration services, like SSIS. You got the most out of SSIS by parameterizing as much as you could and just have as few moving parts as possible. And yeah, I think that Mark Cromer, he posts a lot on Data Factory. He's really, really, really good at getting how-to videos out there, and I think that's on the official Azure Data Factory itself. But no, it's not Power Query. Although, it's not in here. Is it in? You know what? This is another Is it in Synapse? Is it in Data Factory? No. Where Power Query was. Look, just one more thing, and then I'll stop the stream. One more thing. Everyone's got lives to get on with. I don't know. I'll open up any old one. Is the author? Yeah, Power Query. You can see that I've attempted it once. No, that's a subscription that doesn't work anymore. So, I had a go with the Power Query integration in Data Factory. I didn't really get that far, to be honest with you. Look, currently not all Power Query M functions are supported. I think anyone coming from Power BI and thinking, oh great, I can look at building ETL pipelines in Data Factory using M it might not fully support everything. It's there though, and hopefully it might improve over time. Not compatible enough to use much. Right, there we go. That's it. Anyway, thank you all, and I've enjoyed it, and I'll look to set another one up, and maybe we can expand on it. If anyone's got any ideas or anything to test out, drop it on Twitter. Have a good one. Bye bye.